Hi, and thanks for visiting learned.com. This site has been designed to teach you a major tool from every part of the DevOps stack. But what is DevOps, I hear you ask? And what is the stack? And why might I want to learn it? To answer that question, we're going to have a look back to the early days of computing, when games looked a bit like this and the revenue model was simple. A developer would sell a game or application, the customer would pay for it, and at that point the transaction was over. Then this man came along, and he invented this. A lot of things happened as a result of this, often involving cats. But one of the things the internet did was to create a tight coupling between technical problems and revenue. If a business makes money from a website, then the amount of money that is lost when that website is down can be roughly calculated using this equation. So, for example, if a business makes 10 million a year, the website being down costs roughly £1,000 an hour. This meant it was suddenly worth spending large amounts of money on people whose sole job it was to prevent downtime. People called them site reliability engineers, or more often, DevOps engineers. People say a lot of odd things about what it is to be a DevOps engineer, but a good short description is someone who uses automation to improve site reliability and code delivery speed. But how do they go about doing that? When someone browses to a website, their internet browser requests a page from the internet, which gets the page from a server and delivers it to them. In a bit more detail, they make a request to a DNS server to get the address of that page, which directs them to a web page, which is served by a web server, which lives on an operating system, which is installed on a physical server or VM. If the server is running Linux, then that stack might be HTML, Apache, Ubuntu, and AWS. Or possibly, it might be the Windows stack and running C# on IIS, on Windows Server, or on Azure. It actually doesn't really matter what technology a company picks. The basic steps to build a system are exactly the same. Get hold of a server, install an operating system on that server, install and configure a web server on that operating system, and then write some code for the website and copy it over into the correct location for the web server to serve it. These stages are so similar no matter what you're building, even when that software is not a website, that they've been given generic names: provision, configure, build, and deploy. In the early days of the internet, people generally used to do these things by hand, and it caused all kinds of problems. Take the example of this developer. She's chosen to work late, she's tired, and because of that, she's made a mistake in her code and written Wibble in place of window. Or take this infrastructure engineer, who likes to drink an occasional light ale in the evening, and didn't feel his best when configuring the firewall on this server. Instead of writing 80, as he should have done, he's accidentally written 81. In either case, this is going to lose the company money. People are fallible. They drink and they stay up late. They get distracted and they think about more interesting things than their work. Because of this, over the last decade or so, a whole load of tools have been invented to remove manual work from people and automate it, to improve speed and reliability of the code that's being delivered into production. At each stage of the process, there are tools that can quickly and reliably perform the required steps to do each stage perfectly. These stages are often referred to as the DevOps stack I mentioned earlier, and are represented in infographics by an infinity wheel, though I think it makes much more sense to draw them in a stack like this. The learned.com website has been designed to provide industry-leading example tools from each stage in the stack to help you gain complete mastery of every aspect of the DevOps space. If all this sounds like the sort of thing that you might be interested in, then head on over to my site at www.learned.com or click on the link at the end of this video to sign up now. Hopefully see you there.